All right. So, Steven, I think it's about that time again. We got next. You ready?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, let's get it. So, what's up, everyone? My name is Christian Hayes. We have my co-host Steven Springer here, and we have an extremely special guest along with us, Mike Chan. And when we get to the interview, it's something that you definitely all do not want to miss. We want to start off. We'll talk about the sports a little bit and where we're from. So, Steven, what shirt you got on today, man?
Repping Penn State, as always. I'm originally from State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State is located at. A lot of people don't know, that there's an extra town there outside of the bubble that is Penn State. So, Christian, you know me as well as anybody. You cut me open. It's all blue and white in there. So, Penn State through and through.
Yes, sir. And crazy thing, throwing it back to me, blue and white, same here, ODU, Old Dominion University. So shout out to all my Monarchs we have in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area as well. That's something else that keeps Stephen and I really close, because thank you, Stephen, for giving us your OC over there. So now we get to end up doing a little something down in Virginia Beach, Norfolk. But with that being said, I also want to just say happy Father's Day. I know it's a little late, but happy Father's Day to everyone. We have Stephen and Mike, who are two amazing fathers as well right here with us. But to everyone watching around the world, we just want to wish everyone a late happy Father's Day, but still thank you for everything you do every single day. And Stephen, we're going to throw it back to Penn State. So what's the news you got for us?
Yeah, huge news in the sports world. Former Penn State great, former Penn State All-American Carl Nassib, now current NFL player of the Las Vegas Raiders, today, only about 3 hours ago, came out as gay. He's the first active player in the NFL history to come out as gay. I think we all remember Michael Sam came out prior to the NFL draft. So, while he was active in the NFL for a little bit, Nassib is the first current player to come out as gay. And he did it very, it was very, very chill. His announcement, he was on Instagram, just came out and said, "What's up, people? I'm gay." That's literally like all he said. And then, he said that, he hopes that announcements like this and the statements that people always have to put out afterwards aren't really looked at as like something that you have to do. And it just kind of happens where, there's, gay football players, and it's cool, and everyone's just kind of not really taboo to it. So big shout out to Carl. He's part of the Penn State family. So, we here at We Got Next show a lot of love to him. Respect what he did. It takes something to do that. So good for him. Big ups to Carl on that one.
Yes, sir. So we'll just get into some quick thoughts and then make sure to tune in on Thursdays for the rest of our thoughts on it. But shout out to Becky Hammon for being a top finalist for the head coach position with the Trailblazers. Even if she does or does not get the position, that is a big thing. If you ever watch Becky coaching either during the summer league or as an assistant coach, you definitely know she has what it takes to end up becoming a head coach in this league. Another shout out will go out to Joey Votto. So even though he got ejected in the first inning, he still made sure to give that little girl the signed ball and even apologized on it that she wasn't able to see him play. And that's all she wanted to do. But if you ever see the picture, she definitely was smiling from ear to ear when she received the ball from Joey. So that's another shout out. And the last one we want to do today is congratulations to all the women's players on the national team for basketball. Shout out to every single one of them. Most years they're always going to win gold, and probably this might be like no other, because some names, just to list them off, I saw Sue Bird on there. We saw Diana Taurasi on there, Brittany Griner on there. So just congratulations to women out there, and hopefully you bring home the gold and bring it back to the U.S. for us. But with that being said, we have an extremely decorated resume of this individual. We have someone that it speaks for itself, and I'm excited about this company. He received his bachelor's from Lehigh University, has master's from NYU and from Georgia Tech. He was the director of strategic marketing at one point for the Washington Capitals. He was an adjunct professor at Georgetown University, was a CMO at Meter and at Thorne Technology, and is now the current CCO of UTU. We have Mike Chan. Thank you for joining us today, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome because like crypto and sports are like my two favorite things, and you're totally combining it on one podcast and get to talk about both. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And with that being said, Before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at UTU? I know a good amount, but just let everyone know.
Sure. So I'm Mike. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at UTU, and basically I'm responsible for the entire business side of UTU. It's at sales, partnerships, marketing, customer success, and a bunch of crypto initiatives like exchange listings, liquidity projects, and more. So it's a really broad role, lots going on. Fits me perfectly because I'm kind of a generalist and a guy who likes having just a bunch of things going on, and I love it. On a more personal side, I live in Washington, D.C., so we're neighbors.
Yeah.
I live here with my wife, my 6-year-old daughter, Maya, and my 14-year-old dog daughter, Sweet Pea. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Mike. So going into the crypto, this is a big question I always ask. So how and when did you get into cryptocurrency?
This was back in 2013. So I was doing my own thing with tech startups, and I was learning to code. As a non-technical founder, we're always trying to learn to code so we don't have to depend on finding a technical co-founder. Anyway, I was taking an online course that was taught by Balaji Srinivasan, who was the CTO, ex-CTO of Coinbase, investor at A16, etc. He's huge in the crypto world, and he was teaching us how to build a simple online crypto wallet with JavaScript. So he asked us to buy a little bit of Bitcoin from Coinbase for our wallet. Bitcoin was $90 at the time.
Dang.
And of course, I wish I bought more, but can't keep kicking myself over and over and over and over again. We'll just I'll just let that pass. I'll forgive myself for that. So anyway, that was 2013. I can't say I jumped right in full in right away. I was just focused on my stuff. I was focused on my startup. But a couple of years later, it just kind of came back to me. I kind of realized oh, I got some Bitcoin in here. What's going on? So I just started digging deeper, just learning about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And just a bunch of other projects building on top of Ethereum, just learning about the whole ecosystem, learn more about the tech and just how it was so interested in how it could transform business models. Started investing a little bit more often, telling my friends about it, probably got pretty annoying to my friends, telling them about it all the time, and just kept learning and building from there. And then it was 3 or 4 years ago where I jumped in to make it my career.
Wow. Dang, it's crazy that you brought that up because I was talking to my professor. I'm at George Mason. And when I was talking to him, I was like, Professor, are you invested in Bitcoin? Because it's an international finance class. And he said, Christian, one of my students in New York said I should get involved. And to this day, she still calls me saying, why didn't you get involved back then? So it's funny that that's kind of how people definitely are. And so I thank you. I do appreciate that. So my next one is, what is UTU for people that don't know, and why is it important?
Sure. So UTU, we're building the trust infrastructure of the internet that helps businesses and consumers engage in transact in an easier, safer, and more trustworthy way. So a little bit of background on why it's important. Like so many things we do, right? Whether it's like online purchases, selecting a babysitter for our kids, Stephen, right? Finding new employees to hire, or like I was talking about finding like a technical co-founder, like I've had to do in the past. Like any decision that involves risk is based on trust, right? And like I say, my personal experience was trying to find this technical co-founder. I don't know. I can look at his online profile. I can look at, his star ratings on Upwork or whatever other freelance platform. But that's how we're asked to trust online. So we realize that like the way we trust in the real world, which is based on context and relationships and people that we know and people that we've worked with, is very different from how we are asked to trust online, which involves all these anonymous ratings, reviews, trust scores that they can be manipulated, they're static and just outdated. So we're building tools and systems to bridge that gap, right? So there's two sides to this system that we're building. One is we're building the products for businesses to integrate into their apps. So these are like API developer products that allow for these ratings, reviews, and these personalized recommendations. And they take in data, a lot of available data, and creates these trust signals to help consumers and businesses make the best decision for their situation, such as finding this babysitter or finding this co-founder. And then on the other side of it, we have this blockchain protocol, the UTU protocol. It rewards users for performing trustworthy actions. It allows users to endorse parties and entities that they trust and compensates them for sharing their data. So this whole, when they all comes together, it's a new ecosystem that changes the economics of trust. It ensures trust can't be bought or manipulated, and it leverages data that's out there to help people make better decisions based on this trust.
Thank you. So I'm one that listens to all the updates on the UTU, YouTube, and then I also like the example you gave with you looking for a dentist. So I definitely did. Yeah. So I definitely like that one. And something else that I definitely like when the different owners and you all talk about it, but can you tell us what UTU means?
Yeah, UTU means in Swahili, it's humanity in Swahili. So this reflects the human-centered, real-world model of trust that we're bringing from the real world to the online world through those systems and tools that we're building.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's something, because I remember the first time I heard about it, it was probably a couple of months ago, and I said, that's so clever and creative, how there's a meaning behind the name too.
Yeah, and we're based in Kenya primarily.
Yes.
Yep. So that's where it all comes from. Yeah.
So going into that, can you explain a little bit about the tokenizing of trust for people that don't understand the concept of basically tokenizing anything? So with you all tokenizing trust.
Sure. Yeah. So really the tokenization is about changing the incentives of trust. And I think that's a lot of overall, like you said, just tokenization and the crypto is really changing incentives and giving the users and community more control over what they're doing, right? So in terms of UTU and trust, so there aren't that many trust incentives for like product purchasers and users. Like if you or me, we buy a product and if we like it, maybe we'll write a review, but probably not. Like I haven't written many reviews, right, in the past. I mean, you're more likely actually to write a review if you don't like the product, right? You're gonna bitch and moan about it, right, to the company. But really the incentive to write a review and state your opinion online just really isn't there for us. But if you look at the other side of the coin and you look at the businesses selling these products, they have massive incentive to make sure their products and services are rated positively, right? These ratings and endorsements can literally make or break a product or company. So what happens? They pay for fake reviews, they pay higher bot farms, they do all these shady things to get 4.5 stars on Amazon or Yelp or TripAdvisor, right? So the tokenization that we're doing here creates a new economic model that incentivizes trustworthy actions on both sides. So how are we doing this? We're doing this through we have a dual token model. And this is where it gets a little bit, I want to say technical, but this is where this is kind of the meat of it. So there's the UTU trust token, UTT. So in our system, this is really the measure of trustworthiness and positive participation in the system. So like trust itself, UTT can't be bought and only earned in our system. So you can use UTT to endorse products you've bought, sellers you bought from, freelancers or companies you've worked with, your co-founder that you're building a great company with, or any other entity that we've integrated with. So now if someone else hired this freelancer based on your endorsement and had a positive experience, gives them a good endorsement, you actually get rewarded with more UTT, right? So that's it. It's your positive behaviors and your accurate reviews and endorsements are being rewarded. So that's giving you more of an incentive to be more trustworthy. On the other hand, if you endorse someone who turns out to be a terrible babysitter or a terrible co-founder, you get punished and have UTT taken away. So that's the first mechanism of how we incentivize the trustworthy behavior. So you can also earn UTT by contributing your data to the protocol, and of course that's done in a privacy-preserving way. But on the monetary side of it, there's UTU Coin, which is a tradable token out now on Uniswap, PancakeSwap, other centralized exchanges, and people can buy it and sell because this is used for paying for our services. Like businesses will use this to pay us to use our API and other products that we're building, and those users who have UTT are able to convert it to UTU Coin to a limited extent. This is done through an auction model. So now we're getting into kind of the monetary incentives where you're earning UTT by doing all these writing reviews, endorsing, but then you're able to convert them into UTU Coin. But you can't convert UTU Coin to UTT because that would be essentially buying trust, right? I can buy it on exchange and then switch it to UTT. Can't do that because you can't buy trust. So you can kind of see how tokenization just completely changes the economics of trust and incentivizes the more trustworthy behavior. And that's really what it comes down is being able to design systems that allow the users to share in the economics of these systems that exist in Web 2, and bringing that into Web 3 to be able to change those business models.
So something that definitely stuck out to me when I first was looking around and researching UTU a couple of months ago was I had bought a car, and that's the biggest thing with dealerships because they will lie and make up different reviews and stuff. And I love the whole botting method of not allowing that because they'll make up so many 5-star reviews and you go there and they're thinking the customer service isn't like that. So that's definitely something that stuck out, just enabling the trust and going into that, just talking about credit. So credit's really important when it comes to a lot of people in America, and I'm pretty sure everywhere overseas, and it comes to the lending aspect. So how can UTU help from a lending and financial standpoint?
Yeah, so we have a Creditworthiness API product launching very soon that leverages artificial intelligence and our social human model of trust to better assess creditworthiness. So this model can take in on-chain and off-chain data, and also, it'll ingest the data that's already existing in the business, as well as it can bring in like social data. So based on the connections that you have on LinkedIn or Facebook, and it creates a living, breathing, dynamic creditworthiness assessment that just constantly adapts to new data that comes in to create just a more living, breathing creditworthiness check. And this can help traditional lenders increase loan volume, decrease defaults, DeFi platforms to provide under-collateralized loans, which is going to be absolutely massive. That's kind of the next wave of DeFi that's coming, and we're positioning ourselves to be that creditworthiness assessment. So if you look at like right now, most credit scores, they're done with like a simple scorecard based on past credit history. The majority of the world, that's why we're based in Africa, where the majority of the billions of people in Africa just don't have enough credit history to be approved for most loans. Yet they may be very qualified, right? They may have consistent income, strong payment history, and strong trust within their networks, which is so important in Africa. The way they do everything is so community based that they may not have these checkboxes here for credit history, but they have they have 50 people who they've been co-investing with on these certain platforms in Africa that they would absolutely vouch for them for different loans. So there's just so many factors that traditional lenders don't take into account into the credit scoring models. So our Creditworthiness API is going to solve all these problems and help the under and unbanked get loans, and really just it's about like growing economies around the world, and that's just that's how large the scale is of the impact that this product can have. It's going to be really big, and I'm really excited to get it out soon.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate that. It's something I also do really like is that you all are based in Africa. And I was just talking to some people earlier today that people don't understand how much wealth and how much is going to be in Africa. You even see like Jack Dorsey and other people trying to come to Africa to end up building different things. Of course, you have Akon that is doing so much for Africa as well. So it is definitely a smart place where you all are built. And something, because I know some people might not be able to still understand what UTU is. Are you able to give a real life example that a lot of people would be able to understand? I really love the one you did about the dentist. I'll always keep bringing that up. But what's a good real life example so people can put two and two together to understand it more?
Yeah, so I'll start with what's going to be a very real life example soon, and how that could be similarly applied to all these other different similar areas. So we actually just recently announced a partnership with Ocean Protocol, right? To integrate our trust infrastructure into their data marketplace. So if your listeners aren't familiar with Ocean, so they've built Ocean Market, which is where owners can publish their data sets, consumers can discover and purchase these data sets, and then there's other staking mechanisms there. It's essentially like the eBay for data, right? And so what our trust infrastructure will do, we're going to ingest the activities of all these entities, the providers, the consumers, the data sets, and build comprehensive profiles for these. So Ocean users will be able to rate and review each of these. All of this data will be analyzed to create like a trust signal for each entity. So you'll see like, oh, this is like the best data provider. He or she has had sold these data sets and they're highly rated. And then they'll be recommended for specific situations if you're searching for a specific data set. Our recommendation engine will be able to bubble those to the top. So what we're building for Ocean can be done for any marketplace, right? If you're looking for a babysitter on care.com, a handyman on Thumbtack, P2P e-commerce like eBay, our products can identify which sellers are the most trustworthy, they have the best products, and we do this by collecting data on them, seeing their activity, and also making the social connections if the platform uses social login to really increase trust and increase the conversion rates of these platforms. So you talk about the dentist one. Look, like part of the problem is that there's so many options out there. I don't know what to choose. UTU solves that problem. If there's just no trust on this platform, you have no idea who's going to rug pull you or who's going to not deliver that product. Our system will be able to solve those problems. So the use cases are massive. It's really any marketplace, anywhere. Like I said, anywhere, any decision where there's risk, that's going to be a place where UTU can be.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next question. I was literally doing schoolwork a couple of hours ago and I said, they got Ocean. They just did a partnership with Ocean. That is really good for both sides. So that is definitely a big one. And for people, I know you mentioned it before, but where can people pick up or invest in UTU? Like what exchanges?
Yeah, so we're on Uniswap V3, PancakeSwap, and so there's two decentralized exchange, and then Bbox and Hotbit right now. So that's where you can get UTU coin.
Okay. Perfect. And then how can people stay connected with you all? What's the best ways for people if they want to look up more information on you all or just reach out to you guys?
Yeah, so we're on Twitter, UTU_trust. We're on Telegram at UTU Trust, and we've got a Reddit page, LinkedIn, Facebook. But I'd say you can email us if you got a question, trust@utu.io. But I'd probably say that, jump in our Telegram group and ask away. We've got a great community that just really supportive, answers a bunch of questions as soon as possible.
Yeah, I definitely can second that. I'm a part of the Telegram and I definitely see how well you all communicate. And then also the admins are always there to answer anything that you all have. Now, Stephen, we're about to switch it up real quick and switch gears. So we're going to switch over to the sports side. So Mike, we noticed that when I was just looking through different things, you worked for the Capitals. And of course, that's the hometown team for us. Can you just tell us a little bit about your experience when you were there and any top athletes that you got to meet or talk with?
I want to just interject right here. So I'm a huge Pittsburgh guy.
Okay.
My dad's side of the family is all from Pittsburgh. So I'm just not going to listen to anything you're saying right now.
You want to jump off and then jump back on?
Yeah, just Christian, just call me when you guys are done talking about the Capitals. I mean the Capitals, and I'll jump back in. But I just want to point that out, Mike.
Yeah, so all I did at my job was hate on the Penguins all day. I mean, it was a pretty easy job.
That's fair. I get it. I get it all the time during the season. Hey, if the Penguins can't win the Stanley Cup, which we got 2 in a row, and then you guys got yours, as long as the Capitals don't win it, that's fine.
It wasn't much of a rivalry for a long time. Like,
it wasn't. No.
The Penguins. We just kind of sat in the background, watch you guys win cups, and for a long time, it wasn't. It was very one-sided rivalry, but glad we finally picked one up.
I know, yeah.
Had to happen sometime.
I heard about it. I heard about it. I mean, I still hear about it from people I know who know that I'm a huge Penguins fan. So I still hear about it, even though it's 2 seasons removed. So it's
Yeah.
Good for you guys, though.
I left the organization about 6 years too early. It wasn't a part of that Stanley Cup run, but it was a super fun job. At the time, it was my absolute dream job to work in the sports industry. It was the primary reason why I went to business school at NYU to get my MBA. I mean, little did I know I'd be paying a ton of money for a degree and making no money in the sports industry. So not one of the best financial decisions I've ever made.
I mean, the same, yeah.
But no, just kidding. Like, it was a labor of love. I knew that going in. We'd work really long hours, but it just didn't feel like a job because the work was so interesting, and of course, it was sports. I got to work with a ton of technology there. Like, I helped launch our mobile apps, which were one of the first in hockey. I actually think the Penguins were the first, so beat us there too. I implemented sales and marketing technology across the company, worked with social media, much more. So my job was very tech focused, and is actually where like my love and interest in technology started. Just weird at a sports team and not at a tech company. But it was very instrumental to where I am today. And of course, it was super interesting. It was sports. We got, we worked every home game, so we got to see, watch a sports hockey game every night we worked there. Got my wife loved it. We got two tickets to every home game. She's wow. My friends loved it. They're coming hanging out. They hated me when I left. They're like, how am I gonna get tickets? But it was great. It was great. And I met Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom back in the day, like Mike Green, those guys. Other players and coaches. We'd have a lot of events with them, and they're super friendly guys. They're totally normal dudes. They're just world-class athletes and bigger and richer than me. But otherwise they're totally the same.
Yeah. What's funny is I'm so glad you brought that up about having a love for the job in like the sports and recreation industry, but not necessarily making as much. Cause that's honestly how Stephen and I met. We were working in sports and we got to meet like different athletes when we did like football camps and stuff. And you just have such a passion and joy for what you're doing that sometimes the money doesn't mean everything. It does mean something, of course. But then also getting into more so like the investing and technology, you end up finding a new passion and an interest there. But sure. Something else I wanted to ask you was, what other sports do you typically like to watch or play in your free time?
A lot. So, I follow the NFL. I'm from New York, so I'm a Giants fan. Major League Baseball, I'm a Yankees fan. Still a Caps fan. A little bit of a Wiz fan, I guess.
Okay.
I just got that. They were part of the organization when I was there. They came on a little later to Monumental Sports. Like you said, I went to Georgia Tech for grad school, so they were my college team. And it's funny, I went to Lehigh University, pretty small school. Back then it was Division I AA in most sports. And I knew I was going to grad school, and one of the big criteria of me choosing a school, it had to be a good program for what I wanted to go for, but like it had to have major conference sports. Like I missed out on that big football game, the basketball game. So Georgia Tech is not the best sports school, but they were an ACC, and I went to like every sporting event when I was there. Like I would not miss a football game, would not miss a basketball game. It's weird that was like such an important part of me choosing where to go to grad school. But it was. So they're my college team. Follow them for football and basketball, and just I kind of stay on the pulse of other sports like tennis. I'm a tennis player, boxing, MMA a little, and poker if you want to consider that a sport. Still I'm a big poker player, so I kind of keep tabs on that too.
The sports aspect of going to school, and like I'm glad you said that, because that's a real thing. Like I know, Christian, you can maybe stay out of this one because ODU isn't a powerhouse, but like they're getting there. But I mean, going to Penn State, Georgia Tech's the same way. I mean, they have their moments. Unfortunately, I was there when there was the Sandusky scandal.
Oh gosh.
So I had like the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of like really enjoying, and getting to like partake in like the monumental moments. I had like the downfall of things, but we had no Big Ten championships or anything like that. But it was still Penn State football. So we still had like the whiteout. We still had all that stuff. And I took Christian to a couple whiteouts in the past. And, that sports aspect, especially when you're there, like you don't realize how important that is, like on like a smaller scale in terms of like, I know you go to school for the academics and, the socialization, all that kind of stuff, and setting yourself up for the future. But like that sports aspect of things, and like, just like having that school pride and spirit, all that kind of good stuff, it just makes that 4 or 5 years, however long you want to be there, it just makes it, it doesn't matter. I mean, we all take a victory lap. Like it doesn't matter. Like it just makes it so much better. And there's always so much to look forward to. I mean, each school has what they're great at. Georgia Tech's, they've had their runs in basketball and football. Shout out to the only team, one of the few teams still that ran the option, and they always rocked the Russell Athletics, so that was always something. But having that like that sports aspect of things was always, it's so important.
And just look at how it's like still influencing your life now, right? Like you dedicate a lot of time, and also I think it also helps a lot in just like in general, just having communities and meeting people where you can just immediately bond with someone over the football team or whatever it may be, and just sharing an alma mater where you share the same passion with for the sports teams there. So it definitely, I didn't really think about, I was a big sports fan, but I don't know, my undergrad, don't get me wrong, I had a great experience at Lehigh University, and it was a solid school, and treated me well, but like I just didn't think about these things. Like my undergrad college search was just like so not well thought out and everything, and like I don't know what happened. I think I got a mailer or something from them, but like I realized, oh, okay, this is a pretty good school. But yeah, it's just I think there is a lot to be said for having that environment there, both when you're when you are actually there, and then just down the road.
I mean, and I can, I'm sure you can speak to this with kids, but I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and they have no choice but to be Penn State. Like I'll give them the whole spiel of like wherever you want to go, like whatever will support you. That's a bold-faced lie. I'm not supporting them going anywhere else but Penn State. There's no way. I'm hoping that the tuition goes down a little bit between now and then. It's not. But I went to my first game and growing up in State College. I went to my first Penn State game when I was, I think, 3. my son, we took him, my daughter, they went to their first games before that, and we were at tailgates, and they were just babies. So, my daughter, now that she's older, I don't think she like understands the game, obviously. And that's like the next step of like my parenting is like getting them to understand the X's and O's. But she loves watching football. She just loves watching it. She'll watch College Game Day with me on Saturdays. It's like my wife has her thing with the kids and everything. But like, if I only have one thing, it's the sports thing. It's taking them to tailgates. It's, my whole family still lives back in State College. So it's just like that whole aspect of, like you said, the community thing. Like you want them to be a part of it, and like, there's ups and downs, obviously, but like, they get to be a part of it, and it's great. They go to games, they love it. Yeah, it's always going to be there. And like I said, they have no choice, and they have no idea what I'm about to put them into. No idea. Christian can tell you what I'm like on Saturdays in the fall. Like I'm a completely different person, and my kids are going to be the same way, and I look forward to it so much.
So one thing I actually wanted to, that sticks out to me, because I got my bachelor's from Old Dominion University in sports management. So that was definitely something when I was just looking over everything about you, Mike. I noticed that you were a professor at Georgetown in that. So can you just tell us a little bit about your experience and when you were at Georgetown as a professor there?
Yeah, I love teaching at Georgetown. Again, it was a hard work, right? Like it was a labor of love. I was really busy in the middle of the hockey season while I was doing it. Still found time to teach. I really liked it a lot. I didn't love grading papers.
I know.
That wasn't my favorite part, but like I loved the lectures and the interaction with the students. And it was cool. It's like you got these like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed students, like trying to break in like I was a few years before, so I wanted to do everything that I could to help them out. And made outside of the classroom, just made some connections to people that I knew in the industry to help them get jobs. So it was a great experience. I really enjoy teaching. And yeah, it was just basically it was just kind of just spewing out everything that I know that I was actually really doing, in the sport. So it was like, It was nice and easy to be able to do that. And share my experiences. But yeah, the grading papers thing is just not a fan.
Yeah, what's so funny is just in classes now, professors always tell you that it's so much better giving you that experience like in the field. And whereas like instead of just having you read books and stuff, for example, I have a fraud examinations professor that is a former FBI agent. So he's able to explain to us so much about what he did, not just saying read this chapter and then like take this test and stuff. So I do actually like that, because that's something that definitely stuck out to me. The last thing we have for you is we saw you were in sports, and then you worked with startups, and now you're in cryptos. So how did this change come about from you going in sports into crypto?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about how much I worked with tech at the Caps, and I think that would just laid the foundation of my jump into tech. And I had some ideas about startups to launch and products to launch. And yeah, it was one of the toughest decisions of my life to leave the Caps to do that. There's a lot of risk involved, and I was like, a lot of people who make the leap from corporate world to doing their own thing, like they usually hate their job. Like I didn't hate my job at all, right? It was quite the opposite. So I was like, oh man, what if I fail? Am I ever gonna get a job like this again? But I'm just like, if I'm on my deathbed and I look back, I'm like, will I regret not doing it? So absolutely, right? So I jumped and made the leap and started some startups. Didn't take them as far as I would like to take them, and then just was still very interested in technology. I mentioned I came across Bitcoin and crypto, and then just like you really felt that it's a weird feeling to like feel like I wasn't super. I mean, 2013 is pretty early, but like I wasn't full into it then, right? But like even 2015 and 2016, like I just had this feeling that was like, man, we are so early in this. And I still sometimes get those feelings, right? So you talk about like your professor who, whose student told him to invest in Bitcoin, like he can still do it. It's still really early. And obviously it's getting a lot more mainstream coverage, which is great. But it really just the impact that it can have is just scratching the surface. And I just found that like that was part of it, like really interesting about crypto. Is one, it was very early, so there's tremendous upside. Two, it was like you don't have to fully understand everything, but there are so many. It's such an interesting. It's not just the tech, right? It's really about there's tech, there's economics, there's kind of psychology and game theory behind it. There's community, which is massively important on how to build a community, because all this stuff is open source. So the community is going to be the most important thing. There's just so many. It's such a broad space that like I said, I'm a generalist, so that really grabbed me to be able to like understand just a whole bunch of different subject matters. And then that's just when I just thought, wow, this is so interesting. It's so early, it can have a massive impact on so many things. And that's when I decided to take the leap and start looking for jobs and networking and dedicating my career to it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump in right here. Two things stood out to me. The community thing that you mentioned. Christian and I talked about this a couple episodes ago. I like I said before we started, I mentioned to you that I'm very new to the crypto space and everything. So I'm still trying to learn and get everything, and trying to like have those conversations with Christian outside of just like the normal sport conversations that we do in regular life. The community aspect of things, just seeing it on Twitter and how open everybody is, and how like welcome everybody is for it doesn't matter where you are, whether you know everything or whether you're someone like me who doesn't really know anything. It doesn't matter. Like you can ask anything. There's no dumb questions. And like, just coming from the sports world, I was a journalism major. So it seems like in the sports world, like there's always dumb questions. Like it seems like you can never ask the right question, or like people like you ask a question, people scoff at it. But like in this community, it's all open and it's very welcoming and it's great.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really noticed about it. I really, just following on it, really enjoy that. And the other thing you mentioned is that it's still very early. And my question, I want to ask you this, not to put you on the spot, but why do you think right now, and I asked Christian this before, why do you think that it's the crypto space and like everybody quote unquote knows about Bitcoin, but like they don't know about it. They just like hear the word and like they're familiar with it, and like they can say, oh yeah, Bitcoin, and like make them sound a little smarter or whatever. Why do you think it's like kind of like just becoming more mainstream now, like the whole crypto space? And like why is it kind of just seem like now people are really starting to get more involved, like the last handful of years, if you will?
It is a pretty, if you really want to understand it, it is a pretty technically difficult concept to understand because it's just so different, right? Like we're so used to everything running through Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook or Jeff Bezos at Amazon, where these centralized companies have, they're providing a very valuable service to us, but they have all the power, right? They have all our data, and they use that data to make more money off of us, right? And look, I'm an Amazon Prime member, right? Like I like getting my stuff in 2 days delivered, right? I like watching their video and Prime Video, everything, right? Like, and Google and whatnot. But like, we are so conditioned to be okay with that because we're getting value out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it just takes a while to really understand what blockchain and crypto does, and decentralization, and just how that gives so much more control and power back to the user like us. And I don't think a lot of people will don't care about that, to tell you the truth, like, because especially in
And they don't want to care either is the other thing.
they don't care, right? But they don't necessarily even need to care, because we live in America, right, where we have banking systems that are very mature. We have all internet access that's very mature. We don't have not yet, maybe we don't have hyperinflation, right? Like that El Salvador or Zimbabwe or Venezuela does, right? So like the friends that aren't into crypto, they're like, oh, well, I can't buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, you can, but that's not really the point, right? Is you can do that with other crypto that's better fit, but like, the point is that there are situations that people who live in the US might not care about. And they're not really helped by decentralization or Bitcoin, or like hard money like Bitcoin is. But there are billions of other people in the world that definitely benefit way more. And sometimes it might be tough for people, in the US to put themselves in those shoes. But the fact is, this is all coming, and it's always taken a long time. There's always going to be scams in the early days that people will gonna scoff at, and then that hurts the industry. But there's scams on the internet as well. And it's such a shift in the way we do things that may not be applicable to everyone at the moment, and it'll take time to educate everyone. And I just think that it's, if the number go up thing, right, with Bitcoin number go up, if that pulls people in to get more educated on this stuff, fine. Like, that's great, right? Like that might,
sure, yeah,
right, that is okay with me, as long as like they come in, they stay, they learn about it. But it just doesn't apply to everyone, I think, now. But there's just going to be the early adopters and the people who really benefit from it. That number is going to grow and grow, and then everyone it's eventually going to be, it's the most important thing since the advent of the internet, in my eyes. And everyone will eventually realize that.
I think a lot of times things like this, like very new things to people, it's just outside of people's comfort zone. And I'll be the first person to admit that this wasn't something that was on my radar. I think mainly because I was so young, I guess, and just like you said, just didn't care. Like I didn't need to care, so there was no reason to. And obviously, we all know, like, as you get older, you start to care about those type of things that you didn't care about when you were in your early 20s, and it's starting to like, and not that, again, there's no reason I need to really care about it today, because it's like it's outside my comfort zone. But you see these things, and like it's becoming just real life shit.
Yeah.
And like that's I told the Christian when we text about this pretty frequently. Like I just want to learn more. I don't want to invest. I don't want to dive into it. I just want to scratch like my surface, and then just keep expanding. Just listen to people like like yourself, and just listen to Christian talk, and just like engaging in those conversations outside of my comfort zone. I think that's where a lot of people will have the issues with it. And it takes a lot for some people to break outside of those comfort zones, but once they do, you see a whole new world, if you will. So it's crazy. In the, I don't know what, Christian, like the month that I've really been like engaged with this, I mean this in the best way possible, the insanity that it is. It's insane. It's great to learn, but it's a lot, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just it takes time to wrap your mind around something that's really so different and so transformative. Like
it's like having kids.
Yeah.
It's like having kids. Like I still don't know what I'm
You
doing.
don't know. Right. You
Yeah.
and you're gonna learn.
Yeah, right.
Funny.
You got to, yeah.
So I want to end on this one, Mike and Steven. I want both of your thoughts. We'll finish with the basketball side. So Kevin Durant throughout game 1 through game 7. I'll start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts on after he ruptured his Achilles and then is coming back in the way he was playing? It can be a little bit of thoughts or a lot of thoughts. What were your thoughts on either the series or how KD was throughout that series?
I mean, KD is just this like, it's such a unique player that like it's really funny. Like I remember telling my buddy when, he got drafted, we were just talking basketball. I was like, do you draft him or Greg Oden, right? And I was like, I think you draft Greg Oden, right? Like, you don't like he was just like dominating on the inside, and obviously I was very wrong about that. Just a side note, but like he's just such a unique player that he's just so hard to guard, right? So like coming back from that, really possibly career-ending injury. And just performing the way he did, what he put up like 47 or something crazy in the last game that they lost. He's just so hard to guard, just 6'11", with the handle and the shot. He's just a generational player that's amazing. And it's tough with the Nets, like they just with injuries and COVID and all that, like it is pretty tough to go down like that. But they clearly were the best team remaining in talent wise, or in the league overall talent wise. But talent doesn't always win. There's always stuff that happens that you got to overcome. So,
Steven, what you got?
I mean, you and I texted, I think after every shot that
we did.
Durant took and made, which seemed to be every shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it's like this, it's like with LeBron. And I always hate bringing up LeBron to be the focal point of things, but he always seems to be. It's like with his games, you just can't help but appreciate it. And I really hope it's like, I go back to saying, as you get older, things kind of become more apparent. Like Durant's not going to be around forever. LeBron's not going to be around forever. All these guys who are putting up crazy numbers and just doing things that we've never seen before and probably will never see again. You just got to just sometimes put your phone down, just focus on the game. And we talked about before, we were doing an episode last Thursday during, I think it's before game 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we start this early? Cause I really want to sit down and just watch this game. Cause right. I mean, who knows how much longer Durant's going to play, and who knows, knock on wood, hopefully he stays healthy. He just committed to the Olympics, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what he was doing is just it's almost unfathomable that he was doing that great and they lost.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I honestly didn't even care about him missing that last shot. When you look at the rest of the game and the confidence that he actually had, even at the end of the fourth quarter, everyone in the building knew it was going to KD. KD even had the confidence to know, all right, this is about to go in. But the crazy part about that shot is if his foot was back just that much,
if he was a half size smaller,
it would be
that's
totally
all he needed.
Different.
Yeah.
But the rest of my thoughts I'll save for our Thursday episode. I want to wrap this one up by saying, Mike, I appreciate this one a lot. I knew a good amount about UTU before, but just the amount of knowledge you just gave today, I really appreciate it. And it's funny for me because I watch all your interviews that you have with either the team or different businesses that you all work with. So to just switch the roles and me asking you the questions, it was kind of cool to end up doing that today. So I want to just say thank you once again. Steven, you got anything for the people?
I learned a lot. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this.
Yeah, I know.
maybe jot some things down. But it was great talking to you, Mike, and great meeting you.
Same here. If you have any questions, just let me know. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me again. It's talking about my two favorite subjects, crypto and sports, and I think you get this is super fun, and appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you. And all the 6 men and women out there, we'll catch you next time on We Got Next. Thank you.